Welcome, folks, to the Gritty Podcast. We're in our fancy studio, which is the Gritty Truck
That's right.
in Montana. And my guest today is Brandon Bishop. And Brandon, you're 21.
I am, yeah.
And you killed your first bull elk this year, archery.
Yeah.
And I want to get that story on the podcast today. I just had your dad on the podcast, and your uncle was on the podcast.
Yeah.
And your uncle, he's on a streak. He shot this is his 15th bull in a row.
Yeah.
Archery.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And then your cousins, his sons, Ben and John, have both shot some great bulls. Ben, shot 4 bulls, he told me?
Yeah, before he was 16, yeah.
12, 13, 14, like 16,
Yeah.
It's
insane.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, your dad was telling me you're way into sports, high school athletics, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, in high school I was an athlete. I played basketball and did track mostly, and kind of all my brothers growing up have been playing sports since we were little and have been super competitive with each other, and it's always been like just in our family, just that's kind of what we do, is just play sports, and we're all kind of athletic, so that's kind of just what we enjoy doing.
So when you got I was kind of the same in high school. I would go out on a week-long hunt with the family or whatever during the fall, but mostly, especially as I got into later in high school, a junior, senior, even sophomore, I was so into sports and girls that I really didn't hunt as much as I did.
Yeah.
Then I went on a mission to Japan, came home, and then I was like, I got way more into it again. From age like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I was obsessed with hunting. And then 14, I think it was a hormonal shift.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Around there.
I was into sports and high school and friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And hunting I still went, but it wasn't a priority at all. It wasn't like a focus.
Right.
So for you, it sounded like it was similar. And something sparked this year to where you're like, I want to do this.
Yeah. So, I mean, my senior year of high school, I played basketball freshman through junior year. My senior year, I decided that I wasn't gonna go out and play because I wanted to be able to ski, and I kind of started getting more into like just being outdoors and doing sports that I love, and you don't have to like go and practice. You just go out and have fun. And skiing kind of led to doing mountain biking and stuff, and my dad and uncle and cousins and all hunted like growing up and everything. So I wasn't one of the people who were like super into it in our family, and I just recently started getting into it, and just because I love being outdoors and spending time with my dad and my cousins, and so that's kind of.
And they're hardcore.
Yeah.
They're addicted.
Yeah. It's no joke. I mean, some of the stuff that they do is insane, and it's not for everybody. But
and so you decide this year, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Your dad was telling me you're the kind of guy that's like trying to get you to do something you don't really feel like doing is like it's not gonna happen. But when you like decide this is something I'm gonna do, it's done. You do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been like that, and my mom kind of always says that about me and stuff, but I think it was probably about the beginning of the year, so probably January or February, I kind of made the decision that, like, this is what I want to do, and the earliest thing that we could really do was just shed hunt, and so we started doing a bunch of that stuff, and I mean, ever since we just kept going, and it's been super fun to do that. And
yeah, well, you shot your first bull on your first year with archery.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very often for a guy. Of course, you have great family that knows areas, knows animals, calls in, has killed a lot of animals. Your uncle's killed a ton. So you got all that support and knowledge to bring to bear.
Yeah.
But still, you got to be the guy that makes the shot.
Yeah.
You got to be the guy that hikes the mountain. Like, they're not going to carry you there.
Yeah.
And so, but I am curious, like, the transition to go from okay, I'm just gonna do this, you know. And a lot of people, when they go hunting, and especially the way your family tends to do it, they're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This kind of is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that way?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely like it'll test you past physical. It starts getting into like mental strength. And a few years prior, I've had like a little taste of it, just going in helping pack out my dad's bull and my cousin's bulls, and going in, it's and when getting back to the truck, you're just beat, and it's like, why did I just do that? But just even those little experiences going out is just like, there's something about it that's just like, it's tough, but you did it, and you want to go out and you want to do it again because you feel accomplished, and you feel like you went out and actually did something, and helped other people and packed out their bull and stuff like that. So I think there's just something about it that can't really be explained, that's just makes you want to go out and keep doing it and do it again. So
it is hard to explain.
Yeah.
When you went out this year, so I want to get your story on how this unfolded, because you shot a beautiful bull. And you know, walk me through it, kind of how this went down. And how many days were you hunting before you shot the bull?
So we shot it the third weekend that we had gone out, on the last day. So it was about the 6th or 7th day of hunting. Probably the 7th day of hunting, that I was able to get that bull. So lots of miles were put in, and lots of hours, and putting stocks on some bulls, and a lot of things that just didn't work out. And the particular day that it happened, and where I was able to shoot my bull, the whole morning was super quiet, super windy, so we weren't really able to hear anything, didn't see much. And later that day, it's kind of just happened. So we came back up the hill, and it was kind of lunchtime, and we were eating lunch, and we had a decision to make whether we wanted to just kind of walk along the ridge and go back to camp for lunch and just wait for an evening hunt, or whether we wanted to kind of go down this hill and make one last push. And so we decided that we couldn't really hear anything because of the wind on the ridge, and so we said we'll go down a little ways and see if we can hear anything.
Who was with you?
It was me, my dad, my cousin Ben, and his wife Mariah.
Okay.
So there was just 4 of us. We went down the hill. We didn't have a bugle tube because my dad had lost his on the mountain somewhere before. So we were like, we'll see if we can make this work with just, some cow calls. And we weren't really hopeful. We didn't know if anything was really going to come of it. But we went down, we cow called a little bit, and heard this bull. And at that point, he was about 120 yards away from us. So it wasn't too far off. And so we got set up. We were able to get set up, and me and my cousin Ben went forward, and he was kind of always sticking behind my shoulder. But this bull was kind of 80 yards away from us, and he had about 6 cows with him. And just with the cow call, nothing was really getting him to come up. My dad was cow calling behind us, and eventually my dad was just like, I'm just gonna start raking a tree and see if that'll do anything. And so he was able to rake a tree, and that spiked the bull's interest, and he came up. And
really,
yeah, it was crazy.
A little extra sound is all of what it took.
Yeah,
not a bugle, just some raking.
Right.
That's Lamper's one of his favorite tactics, is not to ever bugle, but to rake.
Yeah,
a lot.
It works. I mean, it worked in my bull. And
so this bull comes up closer. So now what happens? Like, how do you know when to draw your bow? And is he in the wide open? Is he behind timber? What's it?
So it wasn't super thick, but kind of before we went down and everything, my dad was kind of helping me, trying to say, like, this is when you should draw back. If their head's behind a tree, like, that's a good time to draw back. And I also had my cousin Ben behind me, kind of walking me through the process of what to do. And I had ranged a tree, or he had ranged a tree that was about 65 yards before the bull came up. And then my dad started raking the tree, the bull came up, but we were standing right behind a tree, and so the bull comes behind the tree that we were at, and so I kind of had to like try to get to the other side, but right when I got to the other side, he came back down to the other side, so I had to get back to the right side, and he had stopped in an opening at about 50 yards. And Ben had ranged, but by that time I kind of saw that it was about 10 to 15 yards closer than the tree that he ranged.
Right.
And so right before he was about to say 50 yards, I shot, because I knew it was at 50 yards. And
you guys had practiced some 3Ds and done a bunch of shooting.
Yeah.
Like you put in the time.
Yeah. So we shoot a lot, and we usually shoot all together too. And so it's helpful to have those people around you.
So you based on where the tree was and all that, you assessed the distance on your own.
Yeah. And Ben wasn't really telling me when to draw. I kind of just knew that when the bull was supposed to go behind the tree, that's when I was supposed to draw. So,
so you come to full draw.
Does
he stop on his own?
No. So I come to full draw. He's still kind of walking down. I knew he was going to come in the opening, and right when he came in the opening, Ben was able to mew at him, and that's what kind of got him to stop. And he was stopped for maybe 2 seconds, and I had my pin just perfectly on him, and I was just like, just let it go. So,
dude, it's so crazy because, I just had my pin perfectly on him. Yeah. It's like, dude, there's tons of dudes out there who I can't keep my pin perfectly. It just wobbles everywhere. Yeah. The adrenaline's so intense. Like, how did you handle the adrenaline? How did you not just let that pin shake all over?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard both. I've heard people say, like, when you draw back, you're either freaking out and shaking, which I think is most people, or you're just, like my cousin Ben, he's got ice in his veins, and he's crazy.
Emotionless.
Yeah. So
or it's at least tamped down somewhere deep.
So earlier that day I had drawn back on a bull that was a little farther, and on that bull I was shaking like crazy. So I don't know what the difference was between that one and this one, but I think just in the moment it was everything lined up perfect, and I was calm because I had Ben over my shoulder kind of walking me through some things. And I don't know why it wasn't as shaky as the last one, but it worked out. So
that's so cool.
Awesome.
So you I heard your bull didn't hardly go anywhere and fell over.
Yeah. No.
Did you see him die in front of you, like fall down?
Yeah.
That's such a relief.
Yeah.
When you let the arrow go and you're like, and then he goes down, because when they wander off and you're like, oh man,
right,
like where you're sick, you're not sure what's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. No, it was crazy. Right after I shot, he just ran back down the hill to where his cows were, and so they got spooked and ran off, but he was kind of just standing there. He only ran about 80 to 100 yards back down to his cows, and then we just sat for 30 minutes just watching him, and his butt kind of started to do the sagging thing, and at that point I knew that he was going down, and then he laid down, and probably about 5 to 10 minutes later his head just dropped, and it was crazy. So
how big did you know he was that big?
I didn't know. So when I was looking, I knew he was of good size. I knew he was a 5 because we kind of saw him before, but
he's not just a 5. Like, he's a gorgeous 5.
He's good.
Like,
yeah, he's got great fronts.
He's one of those 5s that just beautiful long tines, super long fronts. Still got some mass on him for being a younger bull, but just a beautiful bull. And when you have him laying in the grass, because that's when I first saw him, just the Euro, and he's laying in the grass, his tips are in the grass, and all you see is his fronts. He looks like some massive 340 330 50 bull, and then when I walk up I realized, okay, he's a 5, so he didn't have the tops just yet, but you could see he had the makings of a beast.
We were trying to figure out kind of how old the bull was, and kind of guessing, because if he was young he would have had amazing genetics and would have been crazy a year or two later, but
it's hard to tell, but I would say mass is a good indicator, at least on the base, for age.
Yeah.
Because the only way a bull gets mass is with age.
Yeah.
There's no other way to get it.
Okay.
And so I would say he probably was, 4 years old, 5.
Yeah.
That's maybe a guess. But he has he's just pretty.
Yeah.
Real pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for 5s that are big like that.
Yeah.
They're nice.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost prefer a big 5 over a small 6, but
Yeah,
that's
me
just
too.
me. But
Me
some
too.
people are like, I just decided to want the 6, and
I have a friend who shot like a 350-inch 5x5. It's just that's a monster
yeah,
animal
that's
for missing
insane.
an entire tine length.
Yeah.
The frame is just, they're the coolest. To a pretty 5, which I almost shot. On my
Yeah.
bull, I almost shot a nice 5 just
Yeah.
before I shot the bull I took. Now, I'm glad I didn't. But again, I was looking at that bull going, because the 4th and 5th always look so big, and if you got a heavy 5, they're just cool looking.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for it did something that's different. So
Yeah.
when the bull went down, okay, you did what you set out to do. How'd that feel?
Yeah. I mean, the moment was all just shock, and for at least a couple hours I was like, this is not happening, like this isn't real. But I think it's just the satisfaction from setting that goal back at the beginning of the year, and saying like, this year I don't care what it takes, I'm gonna do what I have to do to make this happen. And sitting in that moment, and we tried to capture some of it on video and stuff, but sitting in that moment, just looking at the animal from 50 yards away is just something that's like, there's just like, first of all, it's like, there's no way this is just happening. But second of all, it just shows you the power of like, if you put your mind to something and if you dedicate yourself to something, like there's nothing you can't do. And I truly believe that going into this season, and I had the help of my dad and all of my family around me. So yeah, I'm just super grateful for the opportunity, because I know that I couldn't have done it by myself. And gathering all the knowledge that they have, and because I'm not an expert hunter by any means, so just gathering the knowledge that they have has been super helpful. So,
Now, you've helped pack out a bunch of animals, and you eat the elk meat each year.
yeah.
Question, did it feel different being the person who killed the animal? Like, what was it like to go at home and butcher this thing and be like, I'm the provider?
Yeah.
Did you know? Or was there nothing?
No, yeah, it definitely was like that. In the past, it's just kind of like when someone else kills a bull, you go over, you cut the meat, that's what you do. But throughout the whole cutting process of seeing that this meat's going to this family, this meat's going to this friend, like being able to provide that for people is just one of the most fulfilling, past getting the animal, it's just one of the most fulfilling feelings that I've had. And it just makes me want to go out and like do it again, knowing that you're helping people out and you're providing for people and your family. And yeah, there's nothing like it.
It's different, huh?
Yeah.
It's a feeling. And then when you cook it, tell me this: when you cook a steak, do you not think about that moment every time, or the bull?
Oh, I do.
Every time you
Every
eat,
time,
right?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird? Like all year until that elk is gone.
Yeah.
Every time you eat it, you
relive the moment.
and you cherish the animal's life.
Right.
Like you appreciate it. You care about that animal,
Yeah.
and the species' future.
Yeah.
In a way that you don't if you just get a burger. Like I don't think about the cow that provided the
Right.
burger.
Yeah, no.
I don't think about the chicken I'm eating at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like none of it matters to me. I don't think that way. But with animal I harvest and take, there's a reverence I feel
Yeah.
toward the meal, and you only get that, I think, if you go out and take on the responsibility of taking the life.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, like, every time you go out to the freezer and you take a package out and it says, on ours it says 2020 elk steaks or whatever, like you said, you just relive the moment, and you're just super grateful that year you were able to harvest a bull. And I just think there is that reverence about it, and kind of just, I think it is the most pure way of eating food, because so many things are processed and everything nowadays, but you can see that go from the field to your table.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Because you had packed out some animals. Had you ever skinned and gutted and kind of done that part before?
Yeah. So I had a couple experiences before this one.
Okay.
With that. We had a while back when I was younger, went hunting with my dad, and I think it was one of Pat's bulls that he got. We were there and we cut it up, and but recently, just before I got my bull during antelope season, when my cousin Josh got his antelope, we skinned it and got the meat. And I hadn't had too many experiences before like this year, but I definitely was paying a lot more attention now than I was when I was younger. And to kind of figure out how to do it, and what the best parts of the meat was and how to cut it and stuff is all super nice to know, and you gotta be able to know it. So
did you feel any awkwardness, like when the animal died? Any guilt? Any kind of, like, you grew up with it. Some people don't, right?
Yeah.
So they've never seen an animal die, or the concept is so foreign because they buy everything at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's sometimes shocking for some people.
Right. I think I was just more grateful than anything. Grateful for the opportunity, for the moment, having my closest people around me. Just grateful that I was able to be blessed with that opportunity and be able to execute on it, and just seeing everything go from the bond that happens when we pack out, to putting food on the table, to like everything. I'm just grateful for those opportunities, and to be able to do it with people that I'm super close with, and friends and family. So
do you feel like it changed you in any way?
Yeah, I do think it did. Not in some huge dramatic way, but just in a slight, definitely more respect for the wildlife and the animals that are out there. It just took it to another level, and it's hard to go out, and it's hard to do that, and it's hard to do what we do and put in the time and the hours, and just all the sacrifice, being away from home and
civilization.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, because I remember even now, there's a certain feeling of, I feel like there's a certain confidence that I've acquired over the years by consistently being able to go out and do something like this, because it is hard.
Yeah.
It is. I also think it's in your DNA to do it. Human beings have evolved. Yeah. You're here because your ancestors hunted. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be dead. Right. You wouldn't be here. If they couldn't hunt, you'd starve to death. Yeah. And so, genetically, we're all here because somebody in our line could get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that we've evolved that way. And so, when we go out and do this, it's kind of primal inside of us. And it kind of awakens when you're sneaking up, creeping, doing your thing. And then when you cut it up and break up the animal and you eat it, there's something natural about it that kind of fulfills, I think, a person. But I think it gives you confidence in life, because you've done something hard that, it is hard, especially with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And then you walk away from it and you're like, you go back to work or whatever, and
normal
life, and people are like, man, it's really cold. I don't like working in this office, and I wish they'd crank the heat up. And you're like, I just froze my butt off, got up at 4 a.m. in the dark, hiked for miles a day, packed a 100-pound pack out 11 miles. You're just like, this is nothing.
Yeah. No, you come back to civilization and you're like, you have no idea how luxury living you are down in town, and sleeping in your bed, and hot water.
gratitude. Like, I feel like being out in the woods like this and living like a mountain man for days at a time, and then grunting and carrying your meat out, you realize getting water is a chore. Eating is a chore. Like, you know, staying warm is a chore. Staying cool is a chore. Like, every day, just the basic needs out there are work.
Yeah.
And at home, it's all like temperature controlled room, soft bed, running water, filtered,
hot shower,
it's clean. You're not gonna get Giardia or any kind of like cryptosporidia, or your guts aren't gonna fall out. You know, no diarrhea at home generally. 5 guys with burger and fries. Like, you get some stuff, you know, at home that you don't get out there, and you're like, man, because I feel like there's an entitled generation that says, right now you hear it a lot, you know, America sucks, or, you know, we're victims. We don't have a good life. And it's like, are you kidding?
You have no idea. Yeah.
And I feel like it does cultivate a feeling of gratitude when you come home after being in the wilderness for a week or two, or weekends at a time. You start to appreciate civilization that you take for granted normally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I mean, going week after week, being in there, you do kind of get used to it after a few weeks, but there's nothing like when you're coming out and you see the truck and you know that you're headed back to town to your bed and everything. And so nice, because it's like you don't have that. But I mean, the second you get back in town, you're already like, next week, like, we're going back in and it's gonna be sweet.
I know.
We're gonna,
You just, like, we just helped Ryan Lampers hike his elk out, you know, just now this morning, and then I'm heading home to see my family, but it's funny. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to be home. I'm ready to I've been in the woods for like a month, you know. I'm ready to be home and relax. But in a week, I'm going to be restless.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, I got to get outside. I got to go suffer.
Yeah.
I'm just built and wired that way.
Yeah.
My wife, she's like, she thinks women are built that way when it comes to having kids. She's like, you have one kid and you're like, I'm never doing that again. Ever. Never. Why would any woman go through pregnancy and then birth? Heck no.
Yeah.
And then she's like, and then something happens, like your brain tricks you and your hormones or whatever. She's like, you love the little child and you completely forget about the horror and the misery and the suffering, and you only think about how awesome it was.
Yeah.
She's like, it's like the human brain tricks you into going back and doing things again.
I want to do it again.
Yeah. And it's like that. You're like, I don't want to do this. This was great, but I'm done.
Yeah.
And then a week later, you're like, man, I want to go back.
Right.
Like, you're here now helping pack out.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you just suffered on your own, but you're like, yeah, I want to go help a dude pack out.
Yeah.
It's addictive. I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know. You can't explain it. It's just something that's, I don't know, it's in our DNA. I think it's just when you do something that's hard and you do something that's, not everyone think it's fun, but if you do something that you think is fun, even though you might suffer, and you do it with people who are around you who are fun, and it just makes you want to keep doing it and do it again. So
I say this all the time, there's type 1 fun and type 2 fun, right? You hear this from guys. Elk hunting is type 2 fun. It's I just accomplished that. It's like an ultra marathon. It's type 2 fun. And there's nothing fun about it.
Yeah.
It's that you did it afterward, it's fun.
Right.
The reliving, it's fun.
Yeah.
The moment, it's nothing but mental toughness.
Yeah.
Mental and physical. Like, and I think it builds so much character to do those things. Whether it's a marathon, whether anything that's type 2 fun. Because type 1 fun, we all know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no type 1 fun out here.
No. And so I think that type 2 fun really is fulfilling, rewarding. It's the stuff I remember the most. The type 1 stuff, yeah, it was fun to go to the theme park and do whatever I did, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But you'll always remember this bull you took.
Right.
You know? So tell me about your bow setup, because you went out and got a new bow.
Yeah.
So what did you get? What's your arrows? What's your bow? What's your release?
So what I'm shooting.
And do you only carry 3 arrows like the rest of your insane family?
Yeah. So I
What
only
the
pack
heck is
in.
wrong with you people?
I only packed in 3 arrows every week. So.
Yeah, it was so funny. We were hiking in, and I looked at everyone's quiver in your family, and each person has 3 arrows. I'm like, what are you thinking? What if one falls out of your quiver? What if you want to shoot a grouse? What if you just miss? Like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm the only human here, and you guys are all like super talented. So I was like, I was just like in shock, and then I realized you're all doing it. You know, it's so funny.
Yeah. So I mean,
It does make you more careful.
Yeah.
You're not going to take a shot that you don't feel like you for sure can make.
Oh yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
I think there's some discipline or wisdom in it in a way.
Yeah. So what I'm shooting is I'm shooting a Carbon RX4 Alpha, and that's what I got a week before the season started. But I'd been shooting a bunch before that.
So it's a Hoyt. I have the Ultra,
Okay.
so it's a little longer and it's not as fast, but it's a little longer. I like the string angle.
Yeah.
But I have the RX3 Alpha,
Okay.
and so it's kind of similar. And I got it because I wanted the speed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super fast. I've been shooting my dad's Power Max before I got my bow, and this is the first bow I've ever had, the first compound bow that I've ever had. And so I've just been getting away with shooting my dad's bow and practicing that way. And the season was coming up, and I had a choice to make whether I'm gonna get a bow or not. And it's turned out to be one of the greatest investments I've ever made. So
Yeah.
it's definitely was a pretty penny getting it, but it was worth it.
It's a great bow. RX4 is probably, it's one of my favorite bows I've ever shot. I didn't care for the RX1 that much, but I got really good at it. Killed a lot of animals with mine. And then the RX3, I love that, but I think the RX4, it's been incredible.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I just got a new RX4 Turbo because
Okay.
I want to try the Turbo Cam. You know, so I have the Ultra, which is kind of the slowest of the RX4s, but it's at 80 pounds, a little over 80 pounds. And then I have the 70-pound Turbo, and I want to mess around with it and just test it out. But
Yeah.
and it's smoking fast.
Yeah. Especially at 80 pounds. I bet that's going nuts.
Yeah, well, that's on my Ultra, and so the Ultra's a little slower, but the 80-pound pull feels so good. It's easy. I can draw that thing like slow. Like it's not a. I've been shooting 80-pound bows for a long time though, and I'd like to go higher. You know,
Really?
yeah, 80s. It's pretty simple for me to draw 80 pounds.
Yeah.
People are always like, worry about your shoulders and all. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna. I
Yeah.
don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
Like the pull-ups and the CrossFit and all that stuff I do
Takes care of it.
takes care of that stuff. And it's not hard. The hold weight isn't hard. Like, so if you can pull it easy, it's like, why not? Because I don't have a 30-inch draw. It's 28, you know, so I want to make up for it. I assume your draw length's quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sitting at, I think, 29 and a half.
Yeah, see, that's so, you know, you're getting so much more speed just with every inch in draw, every half inch over me. That's why I got the Alpha last year, because I just really wanted that speed to come up just a little bit. So I have an 80-pound Alpha. And that's what I wanted that little extra speed, and I want to shoot heavy arrow. So if I want to shoot a 500 grain arrow, 480, somewhere in there, I really wanted a bow that can still keep the speed up, even though the arrow's so heavy.
Yeah.
So which release did you go with?
So I went with the Bone Collector. My dad has the Bone Collector release, and so I kind of
Wrist rocket style trigger, index finger release.
Yeah. So it's not
Not a thumb.
not the jaws, not the jaws on it. It's just got
the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I like.
I do too. Like in a hunting situation, to be able to just, I've had my hand when I was younger,
Shaky.
just shake so much I couldn't get it on the string. So I like just hook, go. Now I have the thumb button, the Noctua from Dudley, and I clip. It's kind of on the string a lot of times as I'm like, so it's already there. I don't have to attach it or hook it, and I'm ready to go. But the index finger I shot for a long time, but I do like the thumb better.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of thinking about maybe trying that out because I've never tried it. But it seems like it'd be is it a pretty natural
Yes.
motion of just a release?
Yeah, you just pull it back, and the thumb barrel, barrel of the trigger is in my cradle of my thumb like that. And, I have it up against my cheek, and it's kind of natural to draw like this. It's a little harder to twist your arm this way than it is to draw this way.
Right.
And so it does feel natural. Like when you pull on something, you pull with the back of your hand toward your body more than the front of your hand toward your body, right? It's a natural pull, and it sits nice, and it got the thumb around the button there, the trigger. And for me, all I got to do is put a little tension in the shot as I pull, and it pulls the trigger kind of on accident.
Okay.
So I get it on there, I'm just kind of holding, and I just start to apply some pressure, and the arrow goes. And so I don't punch the trigger.
Yeah.
I don't get the dot lined up and then just time it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty disciplined. And when I had a trigger, like an index, like what you have, it's so hard for me to not just punch
Pull
it,
it, yeah.
pull it. And new archers get away with it for a long time, but if they shoot a lot, sometimes they develop target panic.
Really?
So my kids have been shooting a hinge, and the hinge just hooks on, and it just goes when it rotates.
Oh, really?
So there is no buttons or triggers. You can't make it go off, really. You just pull, and it sort of bends. And then eventually, when it bends far enough, it just lets the arrow go. It's a little creepy.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Because it's going to go when it goes.
Right.
And I liked it. It taught me a lot about archery and aiming. What I realized is I didn't aim well. I before I got the hinge, I just put the pin on there, and then I hit it.
Yeah.
Which works for a while until it doesn't. And so with the hinge, it was like, well, it was like I didn't know when it was going to go off. Right. So you're just like, you better hold, because when it does go off, you want it where you want it, and you learn to just kind of accept the float, let the pin kind of wobble around, but you're holding it in the general area, and you start to see that you group even tighter than when you punch the trigger or time it.
Really?
So what arrows did you go with?
So I'm shooting the same arrows as my dad. He has the carbon injection arrows.
And did you go with the Ramcat broadhead?
Yeah. So I went with the same broadheads that he uses, which I like for the most part. They're pretty good.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of great things about those Ramcats.
Yeah.
They're not going to back out. They're barbed like mad.
Yeah.
Certain states won't allow them because they're barbed like that. So they want the arrow to be able to kind of pull back so they can be sheared off straight, but they can't be barbed.
Really?
Kind of like a fish hook. They want it barbless in some states. But the way that thing flies, it just puts a massive hole in there. And you look at some video from it, it's intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it has more drag than a smaller broadhead does. So you're not going to get as much depth, but it does put a giant hole.
Yeah.
So what was the wound channel like on your bull?
So mine was just, the shot was a perfect broadside shot. And it just passed through both lungs and out the other side. So it was
really full pass through with that broadhead.
Yeah. So
that bull was dead quick.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a prayer.
Yeah. So it went through both lungs, and then probably, I don't know, 15 yards, 20 yards out the other side. Yeah. And Ben was the one that found the arrow.
Is your bow 70 pounds?
Yeah.
70 pounds. How heavy is your arrow? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
But your draw is almost 29 and a half.
Yeah.
So you got a pretty long, and it's a 100 grain broadhead though.
Yeah.
I wonder what those arrows weigh. So heavy enough.
Yeah.
Punch right through.
Yeah.
Like butter.
Yeah. It was, I I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know that it passed through, but Ben found the arrow right on the other side of where I shot him, and when we walked up on the elk, you could see that it went through both sides and it didn't just fall out. So yeah,
that's wild.
It was crazy.
Cool. So and then I noticed Josh had a quiver that he needs to get rid of.
Yeah,
that thing was losing arrows left and right. We started with 3. The next day he has 2,
and then 1.
Then he has 1.
It's like, where's my arrows?
I told your dad, I was like, that is why you need a 5-arrow quiver or 7-arrow quiver,
or just one that even clips the arrows in a little farther.
Yeah, the tight spot, that I like that one because I shoot a micro diameter shaft, and so a lot of quivers don't grip them well, and so they have the Allen key adjustment, so you can tighten between each.
Yeah.
And so it really, I can get those things in there tight.
Yeah.
And then when you're backpacking and you're putting your bow on your back all the time and strapping it on, you really do need a quiver that can keep those arrows in the quiver, And I was looking at that cheap, junky quiver that Josh was using. I'm like, your arrows are going to fall out.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, they kept falling out.
Yeah, no, we were hiking out one of these weeks hunting. And he was in front of me, and I think 2 or 3 times his arrow would just fall out, and I'd be like, Josh, here you go, like your arrow fell out, and I think at one point he was down to 1. So
do you have a tight spot then? What do you
do? Yeah, I have just the tight spot with the Sitka camo to match.
Nice.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm excited for you, up and coming hunter here, and
thank you.
You're gonna do it again next year?
Yep, absolutely.
Try to do a repeat?
Absolutely. Maybe a little bit bigger, hopefully.
So cool. So anyway, for people that are listening that want to follow what you're doing and know what you're up to, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram at The Real Brandon Bishop. I also just started a YouTube channel.
Is it The Real
Brandon Bishop?
Bishop.
Yeah.
Just like it sounds.
Just like it sounds. And then I just I'm starting a YouTube channel as well. All you gotta do is search Brandon Bishop on that, and it'll pop up. So trying to get some footage and put out some more videos and stuff like that.
Dude,
so
Josh, your cousin Josh, that he's learning, man. He's putting out he's recording some killer film. He's starting to edit videos, and he's passionate about it.
He's good.
He's good.
I'm
good. Impressed. And now you got a cousin like that can kind of, if you want to, tell your own stories, from athletics to fitness to your hunts.
Yeah.
I think you guys are really creative. You got all the recipe there to put out some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, be cool to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I've asked him a bunch of questions already, and he's like, he knows way more than I do already, but I'll try to learn as much as I can from him.
You guys need a drone. Cool drone.
Oh, I know. That's the next thing for him. I think he was like, dude, I need a drone. And
I showed him mine, which is just $500. It's just a little tiny drone. I need to get a better one because it can't fly in the wind. The wind just takes it, you know. So I gotta, I don't have the freedom to fly it like I would a heavy big drone. And a lot of times the weather in these mountains, especially high elevation, once you get to high altitude, the air's so thin, that drone is just like, like it's working hard to try to stay in the air. But it's so fun to have, and it's so easy to use now, you know. And then you throw a GoPro, you use the DSLR or the mirrorless cameras, and you can start putting some cool stuff together.
Yeah, drone shots sometimes are what makes a video.
And they're their own thing.
Yeah.
Like I've seen videos made that are all drone, and they have some really neat stuff I've been watching. I never really considered a drone because I'm like, I'm not gonna backpack that.
Yeah.
But then they made them so small, I could backpack it if I want. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And so I have taken it on a couple of trips, and I've been able to get some really neat shots, and it's made it more fun. Filming is more fun. It's like I'm less of a highlight reel, like fancy edit. I'm more of a storyteller. Like, this is where we went, this is how we did it, and here's in a clean edit. I want it to be informational, but I do still like to play with music and do a little bit of like sick edits, you know, and get people a little pumped.
Right.
So I've been trying it all, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much just the next step for me, is just experimenting with a bunch of different stuff, new cameras and drones, and figuring out how to do a bunch of that stuff. So
This GoPro you got here, which
Yeah.
one is that?
this is the new one that came out. This is the GoPro Hero 9 Black.
Okay, how's the audio on that?
It's pretty good. Most of the videos that I've taken on it, even if there's wind outside, it does pretty good at kind of zoning into a voice.
But if there's no wind, is it really clear? Or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I have the Hero 5 and I loved it, but the audio is junk because they made it so it's waterproof. So when it goes underwater and I brought it out, it was the first time they were able to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever they did just made it not a very good audio mic.
Yeah. No, so this one's super good. There's also what's called a media mod that you can put on it. That has a little light, and it also has like a little mic that goes on it that
I've seen guys
a little
put
better audio.
just glue some fur over
that also works.
the mic
yeah.
to keep the wind from, you know, it's just like a muffle, a dead cat, you know, to keep the wind from messing with the mic.
Yeah, no, that also.
That's so
works,
tiny.
so.
I need to start messing around a little bit with a GoPro because there's certain things like rafting or getting in the water. I don't like to use my camera, my Sony.
Yeah, right.
It's thousands of dollars. This GoPro is better suited for it too. And then if you're gonna do like point of view shots, there's no better.
Yeah.
You know.
No, yeah, it's been awesome, especially as the first like starter camera for the money. It's pretty good.
That's cool.
So.
All right, dude. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having
Folks,
me.
check him out at The Real Brandon Bishop.
right.
On Instagram and YouTube is Brandon Bishop, right?
Yep.
And thanks for coming on. And we'll follow your journey and check out in a year.
Yeah.
See how it's going.
See how it's going.
But I had a good time with your family this week.
Yeah.
You know, you guys came in and helped me pack my bull out, which was great. And I got to meet more and more of the family over time, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
So
super fun.
all right, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast. Stay gritty.